Well, we're talking about Jeremy Lin, so it's you win some, you lose some.
Exactly. Tell us about Jeremy. For those who have not been following his sort of rise here in the Knicks, where'd he come from?
He's from Harvard, actually, and before Harvard, he was a pretty much unrecruited guard out of a California high school who had basically no stars from the recruiting services. He was turned down by some of his dream schools out west, and he ended up going to Harvard, where he never once thought.
We're losing your audio. If you got a phone you can pick up?
Yeah, is that working now?
Yeah, we got you back now. Continue, please, sir.
Well, after Harvard, he ends up going undrafted in the NBA. He signs with the Warriors last year during training camp. He gets cut this year. He signs with the Rockets, gets cut again, and then ends up with the Knicks. And before he even makes this run that he's making with the Knicks right now, he goes down to the D League 2 weeks ago. So he comes back. He comes back 2 weeks later. On Saturday, he posts 25 points in a Knicks win. On Monday, he starts his first ever game in the NBA. He scores 28 points and hands out 8 assists in another Knicks win, and now he's the toast of the town.
And the D League, Ben, remind us again what the D League is. I mean, for those people who don't follow the ins and outs of this.
It's the minor leagues of basketball, and there's even more of a drop-off, I think, between the D leagues and even something like Double or Triple A in baseball. For someone to be in the D League and then be starting a game in the NBA 2 weeks later is almost unheard of. And when you add in the fact that it's the first American-born NBA player of Chinese or Taiwanese descent from Harvard playing for the Knicks, it's a perfect storm.
Now, there are some Tim Tebow comparisons to be made. I'm sure you'll do it eloquently. Give it a go.
Well, there's a cult hero phenomenon here, someone who's making a pretty unlikely ascent for the professional ranks. But the amazing thing is that Jeremy Lin's story is far more improbable than Tim Tebow's. You have to remember that Tim Tebow was one of the best players, if not the best player in high school. He won a Heisman Trophy at Florida. He won 2 national championships at Florida. He was a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Everyone knew who Tim Tebow was before this year, if you followed sports. Jeremy Lin was a niche player in the Ivy League who went undrafted and, was barely recruited coming out of high school, and now he's a starting point guard for the New York Knicks. This story is remarkable on all levels.
And they also have some things that sort of in their narrative arc that are similar, including they're both fairly religious men, it appears.
Yeah, they share a pretty steadfast devotion to their religious beliefs. Everyone knows Tim Tebow by now, and the Tebowing phenomenon and how he kneels during prayer in games. I mean, this was a source of worldwide, I would even say, obsession for a couple of months there. But now that Tim Tebow's out of the playoffs, we needed something else to fixate on, of course. And Jeremy Lin, the first thing he said in his first on-court interview Saturday was he wanted to thank God. His Twitter cartoon, as you saw, is a Jesus cartoon, and he praises God pretty religiously, I guess. Sorry for that, on Twitter all the time, and so it's a pretty easy comparison to make, especially when you're comparing someone to Tim Tebow, who, if you think of Tebow, the average person would think not that he's an NFL quarterback, but just because they would think of what he says on the field and sort of what he believes in off the field.
And he doesn't have a signature move that we know of yet, like Tim Tebowing, the Tebowing effect, but maybe everyone will start changing their Twitter avatars. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, well, it's Linsanity. I mean, you have that. It's not quite Tebowmania with Tebowing, but he does have a signature move on the basketball court, which is this sort of inside-out dribble that he's perfected. And I think that, if you ask Knicks coach Mike D'Antoni whether he'd rather have someone known for Tebowing or rather have someone known for this nifty dribble work, I think we know which one he would choose.